Welcome back to Three Shields Productions from the front line. Here with Chris Blevins and Mike Loss. And we have a special guest here today, and I'm going to let Mike introduce our special guest, but he is going to play a major part in public safety here in York County.
Absolutely, guys. For those of you who are seeing us for the second time, welcome back. We do have a special guest in with us today, Mr. Micheal Fernandez, so we want to welcome you to the show.
Yes, sir.
A little bit about Micheal. Micheal is the current director of York County Public Safety. What is public safety, you might ask? Well, it is what many people simply call 911. And for the longest, they kept saying public safety. I was like, what's all this about? But anyway, Micheal and his team are responsible for making sure 911 calls get answered and the appropriate responders are sent to each situation. Micheal comes to us from the South Florida area.
Hot Miami.
Good golly, it probably feels good here for you, right? So let's see. And he started with York County in April. He has more than 25 years of experience working in emergency telecommunications. Started out as a call taker and a dispatcher and working his way up to supervisor. And in 2011, if I got this right, Mike, it says that you became a 911 manager for one of the 7 911 centers in Miami-Dade County.
That is correct.
Awesome. All right, he brings to the men and women at York County Public Safety a lifetime of experience and a leader that has truly been where they are. We're honored to have Micheal with us today, and he's here to represent his amazing team of the very first responders. So welcome, Micheal.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for having me.
Welcome to the show.
So settling into a new county in the North. We never are referred to as the North, but I imagine we're the North to you.
Correct. This is the real South.
Yeah, it turns back north once you get so far south, doesn't it? Fair enough. All right, so I'm going to get this list pulled up here, Chris, and we'll start throwing some questions at this young man and see how well he can hang with us.
Mike, if you want to, man, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, born and raised in Miami. So, it took me 46 years to get to South Carolina. Excuse me. So, it's been a while that my wife and I had been talking about, moving somewhere north of Florida, trying to find a better quality of life. We loved Miami, or we love Miami, but it got to a point where sharing the road with 3 million people every single day,
I can imagine,
took the best of us. So,
yeah, you live in York. You deal with what, 300?
Oh, probably about 100 every day.
So 37-mile commute to work one way.
Holy cow!
Would take me anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on traffic.
37 miles.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, that was in the morning, and then afternoon traffic, definitely over an hour to get home every single day.
Holy cow!
So got the best of us. And then my daughter just graduated high school.
Oh, congratulations.
She started applying to colleges all over the United States, none in Florida. So
that told you everything you needed to know, right?
Correct. I didn't see myself not being in a place where I was close to my daughter.
Mm.
So I just started looking around and found the job in York County, and I was like, where is York County?
Did you have to Google it?
We did Google.
And then you figured out we weren't in Pennsylvania.
Correct.
Okay.
And my wife and I quickly noticed that there was nothing that we can say we didn't like. So,
yeah, it's an awesome place to live. Yeah. It really is.
So I applied in October, and I didn't hear back till January.
That's about right for government, I think.
Yeah. That was quick.
That's what I was going to say, especially a leadership role in government.
That was quick.
Yeah.
But that whole entire time that I was waiting, I was at peace. I knew that this was going to happen.
That's amazing.
It is. That's cool.
Good Lord told you where to go by the help 100%. Of your daughter, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you. Both of us have kind of a history with the dispatch world, other than just being responders, because both of us were married to telecommunicators. Yeah. Chris, your wife did how many years over there?
I think about 26.
About 26. Yeah. And she was a supervisor, and actually she talked my wife into becoming a supervisor. So she was a supervisor there and let me correct this because I got yelled at when she rewatched the video. She wasn't there for 16 years, it was 14.
Okay.
But yes, 14 years. I think her last few years were as the shift supervisor for Charlie shift.
Okay.
So, we've been in the center, and, I spent the time my last 5 years working with EMS. We're spent in the resource control position. We talked about that.
Yes.
So I got a lot more respect for what they do and what they're dealing with on a daily basis than I think most people would ever begin to realize.
Yes.
Yeah, Mike had some, firsthand because he was in there. He sat in there day shift, night shift,
Yeah.
so he got firsthand.
Yeah, I think for one of the things I noticed, and you and I talked about this when we first started talking about getting you to come on, is one of the biggest things I noticed, and we talked about it on our last episode, was the lack of closure for the dispatchers.
Correct.
Because, they're sitting there in that room, and, there's dead silence now, and they just sent these police officers, firemen into gosh knows what, and they're just like, what?
Yes.
That to me has got to be more mind-numbing than anything else in that job.
Yeah, especially police officers go out and they get the call, they go out, and next thing you know, they're clearing up, and that dispatcher's sitting in there like, what happened? What happened to the kids in that call? What happened to this one? What happened to that one? So yeah, we did speak on that, and I know it's got to be a concern, but
I'm messing with you, but
I see that. So, Mike, a lot of people don't. A lot of people in the county don't really understand how the 911 center works. So, how many agencies do y'all dispatch out through the 911 center?
So first and foremost, we do answer 911 calls for the entire county, and from all the 911 calls that come in, we do have 5 other police departments where we do transfer. So they're called secondary PSAPs, right? Secondary public safety answering points. And these police departments will handle mostly law calls. But, the 911 center will handle all police for the sheriff's office and all medical calls that come into York County.
That's a lot of. How many would you say? I'm sure you probably got some numbers.
That's 19 fire departments and 3 emergency medical services departments in conjunction with, obviously, York County Sheriff's Office and the other 5 police departments.
And how many people do you have on shift that's handling that at one time?
So that's a 2-part answer to that. So we're supposed to have 9 per shift to be fully staffed. We are definitely understaffed at the moment, so we've been working with between 6 and 7 operators per shift.
Holy cow.
That's a lot for all that you have to handle.
That is a lot.
Do you have a rough number on the amount of calls that these men and women are answering a day?
We're averaging about 26,000 calls per month.
Holy cow. Wow.
And I am happy to say that we answer more than 90% of our calls within 10 seconds, which meets and exceeds what the national standard is. And so I'm very proud of our team. And
you have agencies out there that are auto answering that aren't answering that fast.
That's right.
Correct.
That is crazy.
Correct.
Yeah, so like I said, working alongside a lot of these men and women is what made this real passionate for me, is to have you in here, and I'm super glad you were able to come hang out with us.
Oh yeah, we were stoked.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. There was a lot of virtual high fiving going on when you said yes. So. What would you say? What's the primary roles of your telecommunications officers or TCOs?
Primary role is obviously to answer those 911 calls, process them with compassion but timeliness, right? There's a lot of urgency that come into these calls, and they need to find a way to keep control of the calls, maintain their composure, and not become affected by what it is that they're hearing,
right?
And be able to perform their duties, right? Get the appropriate help sent, trying to keep people calm in what could possibly be the worst days of their life, or the worst day of their life, I should say. So and then it's just hang up the phone and be ready to do it all over again, right?
And that's one thing I noticed about them. Sitting in that room with them, again, I get a better perspective of seeing some of this stuff, and mentally you can see them just drain. But then as soon as that phone call ends, the next one's they're grabbing it, and it's game on again.
Correct. And it can be something that's completely different.
Yep.
And still a major emergency.
And I think one big thing is that, people on the other end get upset that they don't seem to get upset, but what they got to understand is, this person has been through, and we'll talk about it in a few minutes, months of training to learn how to keep their composure so they don't escalate the situation, right? I mean, because if I start yelling back at you because I'm getting excited, all of a sudden we got a problem.
Right.
And I don't think all the time I spent over there, I don't think I hardly ever heard them raise their voice at people. I mean, they were able to just calm them down. Donna was the best because she would sweetie and honey somebody to death.
Yeah.
But it would just make them feel like they were talking to their mama instead of somebody, you know. So
She does the same to me at home. Mike, is there any myths you'd like to get out there about 911?
Myths about 911.
Yeah.
There's plenty. So,
Well, the most common one that you hear a lot about.
most common one is about how many questions they ask, right? People think that it's pointless. Why are they asking me all these questions? And they think that time is being wasted. No, we're asking questions to make sure that we send all the proper public safety responders out there, right? We want to have as much information as possible so that we have a positive outcome. With medical calls, right? A lot of the questioning for medical calls, it's going to determine who's responding out, what type of equipment needs to be sent to help you to respond to the calls.
That's right.
So that's one of the myths. People think that we're just asking for no reason, right? They want they'll find out when they get here.
Yeah, just send them.
And we both have heard that. Why are you asking that question?
Yeah.
Right.
But here's one thing, too, that a lot of people don't realize because they haven't been in there is the fact that they're still asking all these questions right up oftentimes until the ambulance pulls in the driveway or the fire truck or the police car or whatever.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about how does that work? And this is not one actually on the list, but how does that work as far as, I mean, do you have one dedicated person that does this, that, and the next each day? How does that work?
Several persons that are just answering 911 calls. That is their, the position that they will be working for the day. We do have the police dispatcher. We have a secondary police dispatcher. Excuse me. And then we have, our fire dispatcher, and we have our EMS dispatcher. And we have a communications supervisor and an assistant supervisor.
That's a lot of people when you're only having a few people in the room.
Correct.
Isn't it?
And then a lot of those positions you have to multitask, right?
Yeah.
So the phones are ringing. It doesn't matter what position you're in. Phone calls need to be answered. So it takes a village.
Yeah.
and in communications, it's what, and I say it all the time. Obviously, right now I don't work the floor, but I worked the floor for many years. There's no separation between a supervisor and a call taker or the dispatcher. We're all in there to do exactly the same job, right? And make sure that, we send help to the people that need it and that we keep the people in which we serve, which is also the officers and the firefighters and EMS safe as well, right?
Right.
So we're all there to do the same thing.
That's right.
So, I mean, there is a chain of command, but at the same time, nobody's going to ask anybody to do anything they're not already doing kind of situation. And that's, honestly, that was one of the things I found kind of refreshing to be around the 911 center is, in the fire service and you get police service, EMS, you got the supervisors that are more hands-off. You got the captains on the trucks, but the supervisors that show up in their own vehicles, they just stand back and kind of let things happen. That doesn't happen there.
Right. We have working supervisors. They're out there. They're answering phone calls just like the 911 operators are.
So Mike, say a real bad call, fire where there's life loss in a fire, EMS, something like that. Do y'all have anything set in place for the dispatchers if they take a bad call and they're having trouble dealing with the call they just took or anything like that?
So absolutely. So the sheriff's office has Dr. Nikki, which I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, but I have heard just amazing things about the work that she does with the Employee Wellness Center at the sheriff's office. So at PSC, we're working on a peer support group internal where we're sending several operators to training so that they can count on each other. And we definitely have the support of Dr. Nikki and the sheriff's office. We've been included in several debriefings after these major calls, and the dispatchers just, really appreciate attending them. And it's refreshing to see that they are included. Historically, where I come from, it's hard to get the dispatchers invited to these debriefings, and since I've been here, I know of 3 that some of my employees have attended, and they
that's
appreciate it.
That
And they get that closure, right?
Yes, sir.
And they get the understanding of what it is that's happening.
and we talked about that last week too. You know, when you're dealing with all these situations, and I mean, more than 25 years of service. I mean, 28 for me.
26.
26 for you.
Right.
When we first all started, you didn't have the luxury of
No.
of talking about your feelings.
No.
If you
No.
did, then you were ostracized and
Right.
made fun of. And
Well, we come from that generation, where you wreck your bicycle, walk it off.
yeah,
That's the way it was. You wreck your bicycle, but dust your knees off and walk it off. So,
Right.
but in saying what you said about working with Dr. Nikki, so y'all are trying to get some for the mental health, and because like you said, they need that closure, and that'd be awesome for them. It's just, if they don't use it, it's on them. But if they do have that avenue to go down,
They have that avenue. The county also provides EAP.
EAP,
right?
yeah.
So it takes the person wanting to seek the help. Sometimes they think that they don't until it catches up to them.
That's right.
I personally, I like meeting with every single one of my team members, one-on-ones. I have heart-to-hearts with them, and I listen to them,
That's awesome.
and I know
That is.
exactly what it is that they're going through. I've been there. I've done that.
right.
And I know that you have to talk about it. You have to let it out, and then we move on.
Yeah, because not everybody can just go home and talk to their spouse about what they dealt with that day.
Mostly wouldn't understand.
Yeah,
And see, that's where me and Mike come in. We were on one side, they were on one side. We understood each other.
Yeah.
So they can come home and say, "Hey, I had this today," or "We had this," and and it was nice to have that ear to talk to and somebody there that was understanding what you were talking about.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, we had a major incident here in the county. God, I can't even remember how many years ago it's been, but Donna was working that night. Tracy was working that night. And for her to be able to come home, and I'm sure Donna was the same way.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you guys probably ended up getting called out for all that mess. But for Tracy to come home and wake me up and says, "I just need to talk," the fact that she had somebody, but
That's right.
a lot of those folks don't. I know several of them. I mean, Tammy, one of the supervisors, her husband retired from EMS.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think is probably less frequently that you see. I mean, you coming from where you come from, how many dispatchers actually have that home life where they can go home and talk to those people?
Not many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just, I feel like I say, with just the history and how we all came up and knowing now all of a sudden we got to become somewhat touchy feeling. It felt crappy there at first. I was gonna say icky, but it felt worse than icky. Just talking about your feelings. One of the places that I at Piedmont, they made it mandatory, and I'm not sure how great that was. You gotta. I think if a coworker comes to you and says, "Hey, you need to find somebody to talk to," it means a little more than being told you have to.
Yeah.
So I like your approach on that too.
Yeah, I do too. So your staffing numbers, are you short?
So we're short. However, we have 4 new employees in training, and they're doing great. We have an additional 4 starting in mid-August. So that will leave us with just 1 open position.
Okay.
That's good.
That's amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
But it takes months, right, of training these individuals to be able to release them and handle business.
Well,
right?
let's go down that rabbit hole a little bit. Let's just see. You got a brand new employee that starts Monday.
Right. So
When can I expect to hear him on the radio?
they will be working for training for 36 shifts before they are released. This is a new pilot we're trying, where we're getting them to have half of their training on day shift and then the other half on night shift. Because business is completely different.
It is.
Way different.
Yeah.
Right? The type of
Yeah.
calls that you handle.
Yeah.
So we want them to be well-rounded before we release them to answer these 911 calls.
It's a good idea.
That's a really good idea. And matter of fact, I think I've heard them talk about that, wishing that they could do that before. So that's great.
The training program before was a little bit shorter. They were doing about 12 shifts and then being released.
Wow.
And you have operators that have done it, and they're really good at their jobs. However, I feel that there's an edge that we're taking off by providing them more training, right? If we find with that those 36 shifts are too much, we can adjust it,
Yep.
right? Nothing has to be set completely in stone, but we do have to have some kind of a minimum to gauge how it is that they're doing,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
Without and the same way, if I have to give somebody 40 shifts to release them,
So you got that flexibility.
there needs to be flexibility.
Yeah.
This is a very tough job. There's a lot of skill that is needed to be able to perform this job. So of course, you have to give people the opportunity to be able to master the skill, right? Everybody doesn't learn exactly the same way.
Right.
So they do have classroom training for the first 6 weeks. They're together, right? And they're there basically learning with a trainer and from each other. And they do, like group work. And then they're released to their CTOs, right? To their trainer for on-the-job training. And what's good about that? That's one-on-one, right? And then CTOs are able to kind of work their training into how this particular new team member learns, right? Since we don't all learn exactly the same way. So we're just trying to do things different to make sure that people feel like we are giving them an opportunity to learn the job and be a part of our team.
That's great. Yeah, it's like I said, I've watched them come in with new people and just watched them start in, come in very, very nervous and turn into some of the most amazing dispatchers that I'd heard or been around. But
I'm not going to be speaking on York County history because obviously I'm new, but
Sure.
I have been doing this for a long time. Generally, I will literally tell you, you hire 10, and of the 10, 50% or less are going to make it. Right?
Yeah.
So that's where I want to turn this around. I want everybody that I hire
To make it.
to make it.
That's awesome.
that is good.
Yeah, because it does take a special person to do that job.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think they do an IQ test. If you score too high, they won't let you do it, right? No, I'm just because I think over time that job can wear on you pretty heavy.
It can wear on you.
Yeah.
It can wear on you. It's not only the job, it's a sacrifice that you have to make individually, right?
Yeah.
To be able to do the job, work the hours. And then you have a lot of other companies hiring, paying the same amount, if not more, to not do this kind of job, right?
Yeah.
And it takes a special person to
A job,
do this job.
So
a job that gives you the holidays off that, a lot of these.
Correct.
oh, you mean y'all don't take holidays off?
Yeah, and how many of them miss Christmas with the ones that's got small kids, because they got to be at work.
Yeah.
Correct.
So yeah, I'm with you on that. It takes a very special person to do that.
I say for myself is I didn't pick this career, it picked me. And I stuck with it. I didn't think in the very beginning that I would last a long time. I was 19 years old
Wow.
when I
You were a
first
baby.
started. So this is literally my adult job, right? The only job that I've had as an adult. Is this all I know? So I have a passion for it. But yeah, it's hard to find people nowadays that want to do this job.
Yeah.
It's tough.
So what are some qualifications that you're looking for? Like if somebody's watching right now and saying, man, that would be a cool job. What are the type of qualifications that you're looking for, number one?
We're looking for somebody that is able to keep composure, somebody that is responsible, somebody that understands the seriousness of the job, somebody that wants to learn the job as a career, not just as a stepping stone to be an officer, to be a firefighter. That's one of those myths or misconceptions,
Yeah.
right? Is that no, dispatch at one point it might have been a stepping stone, but the amount of training time that it takes, it's no longer a stepping stone, right? We want you to accept this as a career, right? So somebody that can type fast,
Yeah.
somebody that can do multiple things at the same time, right? Multifunctional dexterity is what they call it. It's being able to talk and type at the same time, not lose train of thought.
So I'm going to alienate half of our audience right now, but to me, and again, having a wife that did this, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Seems like your females do a little bit better with the multitasking and all of that stuff. Do they seem to pick it up a little quicker than the guys do?
I'll tell you this. I have a remarkable set of gentlemen that work
Mm-hmm.
in our team, and they're just as good as the females. And it really is a gift to be able to do this job.
Yeah.
And either you can do it
Or you can't.
Well,
That's
yeah.
right.
I didn't talk on the radio to anybody and could barely keep up with that in the position I had. Mine was very, very, job focused. So I was, there's way too many things going on in there. And, the people that haven't seen the inside of this place, they're looking at, 7 monitors at every console?
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on. And then, some of them, like the supervisor's console, has a whole bunch of other stuff going on up there. And it's just like, this is crazy.
And phones constantly ringing.
Yeah.
So what is York County? I mean, we obviously we can't compare it to Miami, but York County, the starting salary for somebody who's not trained, who would like to get into this career and wish to go down that path, what are they looking at salary?
So starting salary right now is $42,000, which is roughly $21 an hour, something like that. Obviously, retirement benefits.
Yeah.
The whole compensation package.
Mm-hmm.
And I can speak on the retirement benefits. They are. It is nice. It is real nice to be able to know that money's going to be coming in. And
Yes.
so, yeah. If anybody out there is listening that is interested in a county job, it is a good government to work for. York County is really good to work for. I've enjoyed my 26 years, and they've never. If you call up there, even being retired, you call up and got a question, they never shy from answering that question. So.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of hours are your men and women working? Like from what time to what time?
So they're working 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Okay.
Right. And they have, I guess you can call it like a rolling schedule.
Mm-hmm.
They have long weeks and short weeks. So if they work Monday, Tuesday, they're off Wednesday, Thursday, and then they work Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Then they're off Monday, Tuesday, work Wednesday, Thursday, and then they have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. So
Okay.
it gives everybody the opportunity to have every other weekend off with family.
Yeah, that 3-day weekend's nice.
Correct.
Yeah.
And unless it's your turn to work.
If it's your turn to work the long weekend,
Yeah.
then but it's better than not being able to have
Yeah.
the weekends at all, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
plenty of shift work where you don't have weekends off unless
Right.
it's just that.
Now, are they dedicated days and nights, or are you guys rotating these days? Or?
So right now they have their A, B, C, and D shift.
Mhm.
There hasn't really been a rotation in a while, and we're actually putting it out to the floor for the workers to decide what they feel would be the best shifts for them, right? So I'm not the type of person that likes to just change things on the fly.
Right.
I like to really talk things through, and I like the decisions to come from the people that it is affecting, right? I know that I need 24/7 coverage, right? 365 days a year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want any of my employees to think that, they're not being heard or that they're stuck in this. No, we really have to come up with a way that it's given equitable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that everybody has a chance to work both of the shifts. But I'm also a big believer that seniority plays a big role, right? You work in this field for a long time.
Yeah.
You should be able to have a say
Yeah.
in, what it is that you're doing. So I'm looking at a positive future with regards to shifts and the handling of shifts.
Cool.
But it will be the decision of the folks that work the shifts.
I like it.
It's nice. It gives them ownership.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you get a lot more buy-in from them that way.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. Any type of special qualifications a person needs if they want to try to get started in this career, or any type of qualifications they need, college degrees.
So no college degree. We do need a high school diploma.
Okay.
Right. They need to be able to, speak, write, type English. But other than that, again, it's just one of those things. We do an assessment when they apply, and we require them to pass within 80%. And the assessment, basically, it checks typing, listening skills, right? Like if you can remember what you just read. It's definitely not an easy assessment, but people do fairly well with those assessments. And then we just go through the process of the interview, and that's basically it. You need a high school diploma and speak English, right?
There you go.
Yeah. But I mean, you would love to have bilingual people just because of the diversity of the community that we serve.
Absolutely. But we have, language line, different types of services that we can use
That's
for
nice.
translations, right?
Cool.
Yeah, we utilize that system a time or two. We'd have to call in. We'd be out in the field dealing with somebody, and we'd be like, I don't know. So we get them on the phone with the dispatcher, and about 10 seconds later, they got us hooked up with somebody.
There you go.
So, well, that's most of the questions we had, Mike. The one thing I'll throw back at you is what would you want our listeners to know? That anything that we haven't covered, but what would you like our listeners to know about A, your men and women, and B, your center? And
so they are a remarkable group of individuals who sacrifice a lot of time, their families. They come to work every day to provide excellent service. Sometimes they think that they're going to be there for a certain day, or a certain amount of time, and they end up having to hold over for whatever reason, on call on their days off, to have to come in, right? Which would hopefully, once we have everybody trained, will lessen. But truth still remains that you're a public servant. It's a very important role, and you need to be ready to do it at any given moment. And you need to be able to sacrifice your time to do it. It's not an easy job by no stretch of the imagination. And you have to be able to separate work from family life, what reality is.
mm-hmm.
That makes any sense?
It does.
It does.
I wish I could compensate them more. They truly deserve, more pay. But this is something that's obviously not York County. This is a nationwide shortage of dispatchers and salaries. And again, when you start to think about the sacrifices that they make, it's hard to get people to apply because they don't want to sacrifice for a job, right? And I can wholeheartedly say, I have about 3 more employees that I haven't sat down with, and I've spoken to them and I know them well, but I haven't had my heart-to-heart with them yet. But I can tell you that every single York County PSC employee truly loves their job and wants to be there and wants to make a difference. And that, to me, is just amazing, and I'm very thankful. I'm excited. I feel great about my team and what's to come. The foundation of PSC is a good one. So we just celebrated our 15-year anniversary. I can honestly say that, when PSC was put together, they did a fantastic job putting it together. We're just now, moving up with the times, trying to get the equipment that we need, which we are good with our equipment. We are good with our technology. We're trying to stay on top of the technology, right? It's ever changing and it changes quickly.
Yeah, that's one thing the public don't really understand and see is how that technology's constantly changing. And if you don't change with it, you're going to get left behind.
You will get left behind in a heartbeat.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
I mean, I remember the old center down in the basement of City Hall. Has anybody taken you and showed you where it used to be?
So I've heard. I've heard stories.
Yeah, it
but
was.
I have not been down there.
I mean, it was the dungeon.
It was in the basement.
Yeah, it was, and it was the old punch card system and all that kind of stuff. And boy, they thought they were some more something when they moved into that building, which now probably a lot of that stuff is ready to be replaced already. After 15 years, that's a lot.
So we're currently working on a remodel. So we're going to have all new equipment, furniture, all of that by the beginning of 2025.
Wow.
So this project had been moving before I was hired.
So you didn't have to come in and look for all that money. It's already been spent.
Correct.
I like it.
Correct. Not spent, but
well,
it's already been
allocated.
Allocated. Get that government lingo right.
There you go. That's right.
No, I'm proud of the work that they did up to this point. It's going to be a fantastic project. Now we just have to see it through.
Awesome.
Yeah, and all of that updating and new equipment has to be moved in while y'all continue to work.
Yeah.
It's going to be
You know that it sounds nice. Oh, it's
there's
just,
a lot of moving parts to that,
right. A lot.
that project we're undertaking.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. It really is. But
Well,
I tell you, Mike, we again are very pleased with everything that we're hearing about you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
From
I appreciate
inside
that.
the center, from
yeah, we still got some contacts. We did
Yeah.
our homework, and unfortunately, I couldn't find anything bad. So
Oh, man.
well, yeah, and he'll dig.
I
You gotta
will.
watch that one. You
I
know.
will.
But
Well, one thing I do want to say, Mike, is I mean your passion is evident. You don't hide it. And I mean the first time I spoke with you, I told my wife, I said I think they got him a good one.
Yeah,
thank you for that. I appreciate
Really excited to see what you're going to do because there's a lot of faces up there that I won't know anymore because I've been out of there for a little while. But I mean the ones that I still do know, I still have relationships with,
yeah,
and so
same
does
with me,
Chris.
yeah.
And we're super glad they're in your hands now.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And y'all
tremendously.
are really truly the agency that is behind the scenes. That like you said, a lot of moving parts, even with call taking, that nobody really understands how that call generated, how they took it, how they spent it out, and they're on to the next one. So
Yeah.
it's a very important, vital part of this community safety.
It is.
And-
I'd be remiss if I don't talk about, we have a public education, and our public education specialist does this fantastic job getting out in the community.
That's
She's
awesome.
taking our dispatchers with her, which gives them an opportunity to see the public and talk about what it is that they do. And the program is going great. She posts a lot of stuff online, right? Social media.
That's awesome.
We're having a presence online, and I think it's very important for the dispatchers to spend time out and for the word of 911 and the work that we do to be out there. We just recently did story time, 911 story time at the library, and we had about 100
Wow.
people that came by and in attendance. We did a push-in for Bethel Fire not too long ago. We also had about roughly 100 people also come by our table and get to talk to us and see what it is that we do. And we get to spend time with the kids. We have Captain Sherman, our therapy dog. He's going out with us to a lot of these events.
That's
so
cool.
That's pretty cool.
It's good. I'm
People
trying
relate
to
to
get
animals.
I'm trying to have a presence out in the community so that they are not behind the scenes anymore.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like I said when we started, and I'll say this till I can't talk about it anymore. They are the very first responders. Without them, there is no us.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll be in us, but we're not going to be near as good at it, and we're not going to be near as prepared for what we're walking into most times.
Might be biased on but absolutely you are correct.
Well, this is the place you can do it.
Yep.
And with
You can definitely
no
be biased with
recourse.
us.
Yeah. But again, we do thank you for coming. Me and Mike, like earlier, we started this a long time ago while on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
and me and Mike got together with Greg and said, you know what, we can continue to do this, and we can help the community. We can bring men and women like you in here and let you give the community firsthand knowledge of how something operates,
Yep.
how this job's being done, and hear it from the front line. And that's where this started at, and we really do appreciate you coming.
It's my pleasure. Thank you
And
very much for
we
having me.
will probably send invites out to maybe have some of your TCOs come and sit down and let them tell how it is from answering the phone, like back in the day when you
That
did.
would be great.
Which in Miami,
I cannot imagine.
I really can't, man. That's amazing. Y'all had 7 911 centers. in
7
Miami?
911 centers to be able to handle 911 throughout, right? So you had Miami-Dade County, and then you had 6 other municipalities.
Wow.
And all of them working in conjunction with one another.
Yes and no, we don't work in silos, but you would handle the 911 calls for the municipality in which you worked, but then you would have overflow, right? And then Miami-Dade County, right, would be over the other 6 PSAPs.
Wow.
So I imagine it's a little more comfortable where you're at now then.
Yes.
Which is a good thing because it's now allowing him to be a supervisor.
That's right.
You know, so that's
Yeah.
a good thing. So.
You can get in there and do with your employees what you weren't able to do in a massive system like
Correct.
that. So,
Correct.
like I said, I think the men and women that are working under you, man, are blessed, and we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
And the ones that me and Mike still know work over there, they're tremendous people, man, and I can't say nothing bad about any of them. They are great people, and I know the ones you've hired now, the new ones, yeah, they too. So, but we appreciate you. And anytime you want to come back, reach out to me or Mike.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks a bunch, man. We appreciate you coming out.
And anybody out there that's interested in maybe starting a career in dispatch as a TCO, please look it up and start your process. And hopefully you'll be talking to Mike soon. And we appreciate everybody coming out and listening to us tonight. And if you would, please like and share and get us out there. And we'll be back and we'll have another guest. We don't like to announce our guest, Mike, until we
know they're coming.
Till we know they're coming, yeah. And y'all can tell Mike's getting his radio voice. He's gonna.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you see that. So, but for Chris Blevins, Mike Loss, thank y'all for coming out, and Mike,
Thank you.
and listening to us tonight and watching us on from the front lines.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
Take care.
See you next week.